The Fenway Bowl featuring an interesting matchup of two completely different offenses, but with three guys that are gone. UConn aiming for its second straight bowl victory with interim coach Gordon Samus leading the way. Jim Mora is going to Colorado State. What's going to happen next? Army coming off of a year with a lot of frustrating losses and had some close games throughout the year, but won down the stretch and got their way into a bowl game. These are my previews and predictions for the Wasabi Fenway Bowl out in Boston, Massachusetts. Hello, everyone. I'm Lucas Hill here with the Southern Sports Scene. These are our previews and predictions for every bowl game of the 2025-26 bowl season. Everybody do us a favor, hit the like, share, and subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell notification so that you are notified every time we go live, post a new video, or post a new short here on the Southern Sports Scene. And as always, we want to thank our good friends over at FrostBuddy. Going over to frostbuddy.com. Use the promo code SSS15 to get yourself 15% off of your first purchase. And for more from us here at the Southern Sports Scene, make sure you follow us on X at Lucas Hill SEC. Also, thank you to our friends over at Chike Nutrition. Get in the best shape of your 2026 year when you use Chike Nutrition. 30 grams of protein, 1 gram of fat, and 1 gram of sugar for the best coffee to start your mornings. The UConn Huskies, the big three. What a year that they have. Joe Fagano is going to be playing in this football game. And boy, do I like me some Joe Fagano. He is a very, very dynamic passer. Has done some really good things this year. 28 touchdowns to just the 1 interception. One of the best quarterbacks and one of the more underappreciated quarterbacks in college football. He is a very, very dynamic guy. And he's done a really good job of stretching the field out on a lot of defenses, has a very nice touch on the football, and I think he's going to have one of those games that people are going to remember for a very long time. And if people haven't known about him already, he's going to continue to bring that at UConn for his final football game in his college career. Man, what a year it's been for him. Started off at Maine for 4 years and then transferred to UConn in 2023. And he has just made a terrific transition. 48 touchdowns through the air the last 2 years to just 5 interceptions. In fact, he has 52 total touchdowns in 2 years of playing FBS football. So the FCS to FBS transition has been terrific for him. And, man, we are really excited to see what that guy is going to bring this weekend. But here's the problem. No Cam Edwards. He had just entered the portal early a couple of weeks ago, so he will not be finishing out his career with the Huskies. I'm curious to see if he does decide to follow Jim Mora to Colorado State or if he ends up somewhere else. Very interesting to see. See what Gordon Samus decides to do. He's going to go to TCU, and I'll tell you what, Cam Edwards could very likely follow him. Cam Edwards is also from Connecticut, so anything can be possible. I think he's done a really good job of continuing the trend of one of the best, being a great running back, and I think he's going to do some really, really good things. All right, so how does Skylar Bell Day do? Well, he won't be playing. He's going to the NFL. Just got invited to the East-West Shrine Bowl, so we are excited to see him whenever we turn the tape on and get to review all the games from that week. But Fagano still has a lot of talent on that roster. It wasn't just the big three. Now, it don't matter that you lost Cam Edwards and Skylar Bell. You still have a lot of guys that you can rely on. You know, it's going to be with guys like Victor Rosa and Mel Brown. Brown and Rosa both average. Brown actually averaging almost 9 yards a carry on just 26 carries. I know most of it was in garbage time, but had 5 carries for 72 yards. And in 3 of the 4 games that he actually played, he had a carry of over 40 yards. Can be dynamic out of the backfield. We've seen it in other moments throughout his career. So Mel is an interesting prospect from Gardner-Webb University, transferred in 2024. And, dude, Mel Brown is a very interesting player. I know that he lost the job to Edwards, but he's still a very dynamic type of back, and I expect him to get the majority of the carries. I think he may end up having himself a pretty decent game this week. The rest of the receiving core, Raymelo Murphy, the number 2 leading receiver for UConn this year, the transfer from Arizona, who actually led the team in catches for Arizona in 2023, had a down year in 2024, but he's still a dynamic receiver. Had 3 touchdowns this year and averaged just over 12 yards a catch. So expect him to play a significant role. John Neidert, he's kind of that X factor that you can expect. Dude, he's a really special player, and I expect him to be kind of that speedy type of slot guy, even though he's 6'2", an underrated guy. So you better look out for him. Juice Vereen has done a really good job as a safety valve. He's had some games where he's broken out, man. But will he be healthy? That is the number one question that I want to hear. Is will Juice Vereen be healthy coming back from injury? That's the problem. Well, I don't even need to say that because he's in the portal. Guys, he's going to have a really good season. Now, it sucks losing Juice Vereen. Hasn't played since the beginning of November, and certainly you would have loved to have a guy like that on the field. For Army, we all know what happened with the start of the season. Started 1-3. Lost some really frustrating games to Tarleton State in North Texas. Had an opportunity to beat Tulane and Tulsa. Had a lot of games that really didn't go their way, and that Navy game just hurt if you are an Army fan. So you had an opportunity, maybe 2 or 3 games that would have went your way that turned it in from a 6-6 season to potentially an 8-4 or 9-3 season. And this was a really good Army team, though. I mean, this is a tough couple of losses that they've had throughout the season, but still, this is a really, really good Army team that can put together good drives. Cale Helms, one of the top rushing quarterbacks in the nation, is not going to throw the football a whole lot, man. And that's obviously, it's like a no crap kind of moment there, knowing what Army is well known for. But expect this option offense to give UConn some fits. UConn has kind of had their struggles of shutting down the run. They've defensively, they've had their struggles too. You know, in 3 losses to Syracuse, to Delaware, and to Rice. In all 3 of those losses, they have had struggles with shutting down the ground game. Gave up $175 against Delaware. Gave up 300 yards against Rice, rushing. So they need to be able to shut down the rushing offense that Army is so well known for. So you're going to load the box, and you're going to find ways to force Army to stretch the field and go where they're uncomfortable at this point. Can UConn's defense do that? It's the number one question that's going to be on a lot of people's mind for this football game. But it's going to be Joe Fagano by himself for this one. Army, however, is the 7.5-point favorite. The line actually opened for UConn at 3.5, which is fairly interesting, which you should never bet on the game early, knowing you don't know about what the portal is going to bring. But Army 7.5 going into this one. I don't know why I wrote 3.5 for that one. I guess I got confused whenever I said that. But Army minus 7.5 going into this one. I have UConn keeping it close. I know that obviously the loss of Cam Edwards and Skylar Bell is going to hurt. But I do think still that you're going to have guys that's going to make differences in this football game. Byron Parham is going to have his moments in this football game. Breakout year for him, over 100 tackles and 10.5 sacks this year. He's going to make plays, almost kind of like what Micah Parsons, they're going to play him in those situations. He's going to be lined up at the line of scrimmage, and he's going to be having a lot of tackles in this football game. I think UConn covers in this football game, and I think they find a way to win against a very tough Army team that's had some close losses. I think it's another close loss for them. A 6-7 season for Army. UConn caps off a 10-win season. Y'all have a great rest of the night. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Does UConn pull off a victory? What do we think about Army in this one? Let me know. Y'all have a great rest of the night, guys. Y'all have a great start to the bowl season. We are excited and slated for what should be a very fun couple of games for the bowl season. But y'all make sure y'all do us a favor. Hit the like, share, and subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell notifications so that you are notified every time we go live, post a new video, or post a new short here on the Southern Sports Media. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, stay blessed. Don't stress. Y'all have a great rest of the week.